So the task was to investigate the structure of the economy and what barriers are in place that prevent certain people from entering spaces that are occupied by certain people. So small people entering big spaces, specifically looking at the economy.
I have been following this guy since One Day Leader Season 1, literally when I was in grade 8. And just the realization that I'm in his space with him having a conversation that openly was just a lot.
First of all, I didn't know who VC Tembobane was. I still can't draw a full conclusion of who he is.
You guys do know I was in One Day Leader, right?
Yeah.
Really?
I was the judge in the very first season.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how do you want to do this?
Our engagement will revolve around monopolies, value chains, the barriers in place, essentially whether the South African government should then get involved in partnering with SMMEs. We're hoping to walk out of here with ideas of what kind of economic conditions we need to have to create this better environment, and most importantly, how we can then enforce structural change that will allow Black majority to participate fully in the economy.
South Africa's biggest problem is that it suffers from selective amnesia. There are some South Africans who love to pretend that we got here by sheer force of free market will. We didn't. We got here because the system was designed to get us here, right? And it was designed to get us here socially, politically, and economically. There is not, in my mind, a single South African, black or white, who would rank in the global 1% of wealth that has not had proximity to power. That's not been our story. So when I hear, and I hear this a lot from big businesses, which are traditionally white businesses, let the free market reign, that's a fallacious argument. They want the free market to reign now. They were happy for the first 40, 50 years of their existence for an apartheid state to guarantee them the right to play and to exclude the majority. So when did this let the free market reign nonsense kick in?
Black people for the longest time have been placed, especially under the apartheid government, in the periphery of the economy. So firstly, we were outsiders in our own country as far as wealth is concerned.
The single most important thing you need to do if you want to fix this country is you need to fix the mind of the black person. If you don't do that, if you don't deal with the mindset of black people, and the fact that we come from 500 years of being told we're worthless, and I don't care who you are, if you're told you're worthless for 500 years, sooner or later you're going to believe it.
That was another light bulb moment, that we were trying to defeat something that is beyond us.
But it goes without saying that the average black person doesn't have the level of education that the average white person does. They also don't have the level of access that the average white person does. And it's not their fault the system was designed that way. If you look at South Africa's real problem at an economic structure level, it's that it is, and I've said this before, oligopolistic. What that means is there are few players allowed to play, and those few players use regulation, rules, and accreditation to lock out new entrants.
What does that mean for a young entrepreneur who's trying to start a business, who's very much being held back by systematic and structural oppression?
So when people want to understand why we've not had an emergence of black entrepreneurs at scale, it's precisely because there is a class of businesses today that dominate all industries, that have passed regulations and laws and make it impossible for new entrants. How many black funeral burial societies do you know? And then the real question is, how many black insurance companies do you know? Because burial society is a form of insurance. You put money in, and in a period of time they come back and they do good on the commitment they've made you. That's the very basics of insurance. So if all of our parents belong to these burial societies, then why don't we own our own insurance group? Where does that money go?
If we have an identity as a nation, then everything falls under that identity. We are able to move into a clear direction.
If they made me president for one day, I would do this one thing and resign the day after. Change the labor laws. So what you need is a government that's going to go, we are going to force you guys to create a sectoral allocation of market capacity for small players. Because the presumption that the big players are just going to get out of the way It ain't gonna happen. And by the way, just a final note on this, it's not only is it not gonna happen, but none of you here want it to happen. You don't want it to happen because if it did, your mom's pension fund would take a knock. This is, for me, here's like the fallacy. This is what I find fascinating about economics, is the people who complain about it are the people who created it. Not who you don't wait from.
The most valuable lesson that I've learned is the fact that the development of small businesses, small black businesses, depends on the will of black people.
Most profound lesson I walked away with today was, actually, I think it's a selfish lesson, but it was a lesson nonetheless. It was a validation of my feelings as a poor black person.
Knowledge is not the tilt of change. In other words, knowing doesn't make you change something.